Okay, so we are here to honor and celebrate the life of Chris Anderson Onefeather, our friend and co-collaborator. The three of us have worked with him and talked about A Course in Miracles with him for a number of years. And this is our way of celebrating who he was as a person, who he is as a being. His soul goes on forever. Um, and to just remember him basically together, and to share our love for him with each other and with anyone else who's watching this video. So my name is Barrett Hadeen. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Maybe tell us
Charlie
what
Roberts.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Reverend Devin Jesse Byrne.
Do you want to share a little bit about that, Devin? And we'll do that too.
About what we've done with Chris.
Yeah.
So Chris and I, after he had me as an interview on one of his programs a while back, we started a podcast, YouTube series called A Course in Miracles Fireside, and where we would just kind of follow spirit and just talk about any sort of concepts and thoughts that came to mind. And just recently, we actually started making Udemy courses of the same Course in Miracles Fireside derivative. And unfortunately, we don't get to finish those, but they're legacy courses now. So we're excited about that. Yeah. What have you done? Right, you've worked with him for many years, right, Barrett?
Yeah. Chris and I started also a YouTube series called The Miracle Within. And that was about 5 years ago that we started those. The last few years, Charlie joined us. So we've been the three of us, the three amigos for part of the time.
Oh, yeah.
One of the other things that I've done a handful of different in-person Course in Miracles meetings with Chris. And and then with you, Devin, the three of us did a series about watching movies from the perspective of A Course in Miracles. So
yeah,
anyone who's interested in all of these things could definitely go check out Chris's website, which is themiraclewithin.org, where he has great info about the course and links to all these different projects. So
I'm a little concerned about how long his website's going to stay up. So I do want to point out, going to his actual YouTube page, well, it should be available all the time for quite some time until YouTube dies, whenever
right.
that is.
Good point.
I know it's youtube.com/onefeather with a WONE, I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah. Or you could just YouTube Chris Anderson Onefeather, and his channel should come up with all these videos on it. So, yeah.
That's good to know that. Thanks, Devin. So I got to know Chris through Barrett. Barrett and I put together a program at one point where we had several different course teachers that were going to be together and presenting, and he invited Chris to come along and be one of those presenters. So I actually only had that and one other time where I was physically with him. And I mentioned to Barrett the other day when we first got this news that in just those two occasions, it's like I've known him my whole lifetime. I was blessed to be invited, along with Barrett and Chris, onto those weekly gatherings that we did that Chris was hosting with Barrett, and had just such a wonderful opportunity to share with him in those meetings, and they were just absolutely beautiful, and I just always felt so close to him, so connected to him, so enjoyed his sense of humor and his delightful little gleam in his eye, when he was kind of poking fun at the illusion, So it was always such a joy. I just really enjoyed being with him.
Yeah, he mentioned last time we got together that we have never actually met physically, and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally. We just connected, and I think highly of him, and we just completely collaborate so well in the few things that we have done, and it's just been enjoyable to really have that connection. But I know exactly that poking fun about the illusion that you're talking about, and he's very a delighted spirit. That's for sure.
Yeah. A happy learner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was able to talk to his daughter-in-law earlier this week and found out that in fact today is his funeral service too. Um, it was limited to 10 people because of the coronavirus, so only family members were able to be a part of it today. But it seems very fitting that we're gathering here today. And one of the stories she told me is that Chris had wanted to be cremated, or vaguely wanted to be cremated. He didn't have a strong preference, and she and the family wanted to do that for him, but there were certain laws. He never had anything officially written down, so his body is being buried today, and so she felt bad about that a little bit, but then she also knew that he didn't really like the government very much in a lot of different ways. And because of his service in the armed forces, he's being buried at a military cemetery.
Wow.
So she again thought it was kind of off a little, but I just hear Chris like laughing down from above, like none of this matters, you know.
I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he was.
I
Go ahead.
think we wanted to get together here really just to, again, honor his spirit, honor the light that he shared. One of the things that I love about Chris so much was his sort of impish sense of humor. He had a way of really kind of poking fun at things that, people just take seriously. And he didn't take any of it seriously. He was someone who really embraced everyone. I think just his background as the Native American heritage that he had, plus the fact that he was a rabbi and he was a teacher of A Course of Miracles. He obviously was a lover of basically all faiths, all religions, all peoples. And one of the favorite actually in-person things I did get to do with Chris is one of his favorite musicians was coming to the Chicago area, and he invited me to come. And in the moment right now, the musician's name is blanking right now, but he was from the Middle East, and his whole purpose was to really try to bridge the divide in the Middle East and help people realize how much more common everyone has than all the differences. And there was someone at the musical performance who was a whirling dervish. So it was both amazingly beautiful music, but also a really great presentation. It was the first time I'd seen that in person in my life. So that was definitely, again, a really thing that's kind of been imprinted onto my soul.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, kind of like Devin, I guess, I mean, mostly, I knew Chris on the screen mostly, and kind of that up close, this setup that we have going right here, not right now is the way I knew him. But it was just always such a joy to get on those calls on Thursday with him and do those videos. And he was such a wonderful teacher too of the course. He really, I really don't know about him being a rabbi. I know he's got it in his website, but I sure know he was a great teacher of the course. And he sure was able to share his lessons and share his, what he's learned, the gift that he received. He was so gracious in giving away. That's all he really wanted to do, was give that gift away. And it was beautiful knowing him. I counted it as a blessing in my life.
I referred to him as a shaman, or shaman, as many say. And we've had a lot of time. I always called him Onefeather. Never anything else, really. Just Onefeather. That's what he was to me. But when we started recording these courses just recently, probably 2 months ago, I mentioned that my father died this past year, and we had a discussion that we knew that he most likely wouldn't be able to finish these courses. I didn't realize it would be so soon, but we had a pretty good idea as far as we kind of joked about it. And it didn't seem like an issue. We were just going to keep going, and until 2 weeks ago or so, or I guess 3 weeks now, he was saying he had some stomach issue, and I'm like, oh, well, that's, if you don't want to record, that's fine. And then I'm like, well, that's better than the corona thing going around, I guess. And the day that it happened, I was really feeling like getting visitation or something. It wasn't very clear, kind of mucky, but I was thinking a lot about him. So I was writing him, trying to get a hold of him on Messenger, and found out the next day that he did pass away. But I did feel that connection. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize it was going to happen so soon. I thought maybe a little later, but he was spot on feeling that it was coming. So
yeah, he always had big insight like that, a way of seeing in advance. And yeah, I mean, I agree. It was interesting that you mentioned that you'd been thinking about him a lot that day, because I had this interesting experience where Saturday night, you know, the day that he passed, I felt this call to just sort of play a video game, and so I was. My roommate has a Wii and has this game from quite a while ago called Endless Ocean, where on the video game system you just swim through the ocean and you can just see the beauty of the ocean, the beauty of the fish and the ocean characters. And I'd never played this game before, but I felt called to, and I played it for a while, and then the next day on Facebook I read that he passed away that day. And I think it was Chris's way of like letting me know where he was, letting me know that he had made it into that endless ocean, and just sharing that beauty of it with me. It's just a really sweet experience.
yeah, it's definitely got a nice thing going on now. It's all free ride, endless ocean. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is a good place for us to wind down. I think this was kind of what we wanted to do today, is just share some memories of him, and really express our love for him as a person, for him as a friend, for him as a teacher. But more than anything, just a kindred spirit on our journey of awakening. So
yeah.
I think it's great that he's left such a legacy of wisdom. So he can find all of your conversations, or people can find all of your conversations on his YouTube page, right?
Yep.
Oh, and my son's joining
Yep.
us. Hey, I'm on the phone. I'm talking. You want to say hi?
That's great.
Your naked butt?
That's great.
On the YouTube channel. And I mean, I just wanted to mention, if anybody was interested in those courses, you can find it at my website at openandclear.com, and through the to learn button.
Nice.
But yeah, all of our fireside conversations are on his YouTube page as well. This is Link. Say hi. No, not Grandma.
Well, I think that's fitting too, right? New life coming in as we're celebrating Chris.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, so I'm doing courses with another woman, Chandra Sangat, and the same week he passed, she was pregnated. So, and she's a surrogate, so it was scientific, but there was life from one being born or conceived, and him letting go of his. So it's a beautiful thing.
Well, yes. Yeah, this has been really sweet joining with you guys, and I think the celebration energy is a nice note to end on. So I just want to thank you guys for finding the time today to join with me and to remember our good friend together.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Beautiful.